So instead of always dwelling on what could go wrong, how's about you dwell on what could go right? How's about you entertain the possibility that things could work out, because they can. It's guys, what's up? Welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're visiting the channel for the very first time, hi, my name is Emma. I'm a YouTuber based in Zambia, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. For all my returning subscribers and viewers, thank you so much for watching yet another one of my videos. I love and I appreciate you so much. I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and if you don't know, I am doing Vlogmas in my own special way. I decided to create a series called Improved so that we can better equip ourselves with the skills that we need to have a better 2026 and just have a better, improved life in general. So I hope you guys are enjoying this series, and thank you so much for taking part of it. It really means a lot to me because I'm really determined to get this done in exactly 12 days of content. I am so determined that it's currently 3 a.m. I think, yeah, 3 a.m. now, and I have a full face of makeup on, and I am recording this video because I don't have any time during the day to record this, and I would rather sacrifice my sleep and work all day than not have a day's worth of content. So I really hope you guys are enjoying this series and the effort that I'm putting into it. Today, I want us to talk about something that a lot of us do but are not really willing to call out or identify or address, and that is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage, by definition, is just taking actions that undermine your goals despite you knowing that you want success. Self-sabotage happens for a lot of reasons, and it happens in a lot of different ways. Maybe it could be through negative self-talk. You talk yourself out of a situation before you even try or practice. Maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it is lack of seriousness. Self-sabotage masks itself in a lot of different things, and you always have to be aware of it so that when it's happening, you're able to call yourself out of that self-sabotage and tell yourself, this is not what's meant for me. I'm taking myself into a negative mind space. I need to come out of it. The only way that you'll be able to do that is if you're able to identify your self-sabotaging things. What do you do that works against yourself? I'll give you an example. For me, it could be scrolling on my phone, and sometimes I would use the excuse to say, oh, but I'm learning, but I'm educating myself on this, but I'm doing this and I'm doing this. But there are certain times where that's not the reality. Sometimes I'm just scrolling on my phone because it's easier than the task that's at hand. I know that I should be doing something that's good for me, but because I'm just going to self-sabotage for reason best known to myself. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe there's fear of failure. Maybe there's fear of being misunderstood. Maybe there's just something why I'm scared of doing that thing. So I'll self-sabotage by just being on my phone and using it as an excuse to say, but I'm learning, when it's not the time to learn. There's literally a time for everything. So maybe that could be something that is the same for you. It's really different for everyone, and sometimes people even have very unhealthy coping mechanisms or sabotaging mechanisms, let me call them that. Maybe sometimes people will drink themselves to oblivion. Maybe people will overeat even if they're overweight. Maybe they'll just do drugs or just different things to just sabotage their success. And it's easier to mask the fear of sabotage than actually address it and have active steps to fixing it. So what I want us to do today is to have the uncomfortable conversations, find ways in which that we can identify what our self-sabotage is and ways in which that we can get rid of them in order to improve the quality of our lives. So if this is something that you're interested in, then make sure you get your pen, your paper, your notebook. I don't know, if you don't have a notebook at this point, I don't know what you're doing. Just grab it and write it, and make sure you come back to it for reference, okay? One way in which you can avoid self-sabotage is make sure that you recognize your patterns. You need to spend time with yourself well enough to know when you are purposefully being unproductive and when you're not. Understand what your patterns are. When you have something that's hard for you to do, what's your approach to do it? Are you the type of person who leaves things for later? Say, for example, you've got an assignment and they tell you that it's due on the 30th and today is the 1st. Are you the type of person who waits for the 29th to get it done and then you just start panicking doing it? What are your patterns? When you're faced with an uncomfortable reality, what do you do? When you figure out what your body naturally does every single time it gets in an uncomfortable situation, you're more likely to talk yourself out of it. So if you know that you are one person who waits for the end of the deadline to do that assignment, start being aware of that. Call yourself out on your bad habits. Say, I have a habit of doing this. Okay, but I have a habit of doing this, and I have a habit of doing this. The quicker you call yourself out on certain things, the quicker you face them. You cannot solve a problem that you do not know. So make sure you take time to study yourself, be uncomfortably honest with yourself, and just tell yourself the truth in order for you to get to where you want to go. Because if you stay within your comfort zone, if you stay not judging yourself, not I'm not saying judging yourself like in a mean way, but be aware, be honest with yourself at least. So once you identify those things, start switching them with different patterns. If you know that, okay, all the time when I get anxious, I just retreat, I just go home, I just hide, change the pattern, find something else that to do. But you cannot fix a problem again that you do not know. So become self-aware, study yourself, do some self-evaluation and say, what are the things that I do that ruin the quality of my life, and how can I start to change them today? Because the thing is, change can start right now. Number two, which sounds so simple but is extremely effective, and that is to challenge negative thoughts with positive ones. We all go into a negative mindset whenever we are faced with any kind of task that we want to achieve. We sometimes just think of the worst case scenario. What if I fail? What if no one buys? What if this? What if this? What if this? There's so many things that we convince ourselves in our heads that may or may not be true if you don't try. So instead of always dwelling on what could go wrong, how's about you dwell on what could go right? How's about you entertain the possibility that things could work out, because they can. It's absolutely possible. Why does your head always jump to the worst case scenario? Why can't you be the type of person who jumps to the best case scenario? Why can't you always assume that the best is going to come out of a situation? We've always conditioned ourselves, and we've programmed our minds to always think about the worst case scenario, and most of the times it won't happen. And the thing is this, do not be afraid of thinking of the worst case scenario, because if you can imagine what the worst case scenario is in your head and still find a way to either solve that worst case scenario or make peace with it, you're a stronger human being than one who is sitting hoping and praying that nothing bad happens to them. So take charge of your thoughts. Number three, set realistic goals. I'm so big on this. I know it's so important to dream big. I know it's important to be the Lulu. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But at the same time, you are self-sabotaging by giving yourself unrealistic, unattainable goals for that specific moment. For example, if I have a simple job where I get minimum wage, I cannot start to tell myself that I'm going to have a G-Wagon, $1 million mansion, everything, all the luxuries in the world in 2 weeks. And I'm literally doing nothing about it. I can't even stay a month and I'm doing nothing about it. I can even say my whole year, I can say I want those things. And if I'm doing nothing about it, I'm simply not going to get them. So always set realistic goals, things that you know that you are capable of. That's where you have the power. No one can determine what you are capable of. Only you can determine what you're capable of. So understand what that is and start to set realistic goals. Start to break down your big goals into small goals so that you can start to achieve them. Winning or success is not this one big thing that happens at the end of the show. Success is little wins every day. It's self-respect every day. It's getting 1% better every single day. So break down those tasks into small achievable goals and see how much you push yourself forward than having a big dream that you do absolutely nothing about. Number four, practice self-compassion. A lot of us are hard on ourselves because we do not like ourselves. I feel like it's time to take a deep dive into ourselves and ask ourselves, who am I? What value do I bring into this world? What am I doing to better my life? Where am I going? Where am I headed to? What are my dreams? What do I want? What do I want is such an important question that I feel that you should be asking yourself every single day. Once you know who you are and the value that you bring, you become a whole different person. You become kinder to yourself, you become more understanding, and the way you treat yourself is the standard that you're setting for this world to treat you. So treat yourself with kindness. When you find yourself retreating into old habits that didn't serve you before, don't say, oh, I tried to change and I failed. No, be the person who comes back up every single time that they fall off. Be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, be able to, the same way you understand different people in your life is the same way you should have the same understanding towards yourself. The same way you're kind to others, you should be twice as kind to yourself. When you love yourself and you have self-love, you're more likely to go out and do the things that are going to better the quality of your life, because you love yourself and you want the best for yourself. The quicker you realize that nobody is coming to save you, the quicker you start to check yourself, protect yourself, protect your energy, and go for your goals. So be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Being kind to yourself reflects in every area of your life, and it's going to stop you from making decisions that don't align with what you want, because you love yourself so much. You're kind to yourself, you're patient with yourself, and you want the best for yourself. So you're going to go out there and do exactly that, but you need to do it with a sense of compassion, understanding, and self-awareness and self-forgiveness. Number 5 is to seek support. The process of growing and becoming a different person sometimes is met with a lot of isolation and feeling alone. And it doesn't have to be that way. Of course, there are certain seasons that you have to just be with yourself, get to know yourself, get to understand yourself, where you are, and what is aligning with you at that particular time. But at the same time, if you can have a few people, it doesn't even have to be a grand amount of people, it doesn't even have to be people plural. If you can find somebody who that you can seek strength from, whenever you find yourself, after you have done some self-awareness, after you've known the things that you do to self-sabotage yourself, when you catch yourself in that habit, there should be somebody who you're able to call, somebody who can breathe life into you, somebody who can encourage you, somebody who understands you and your dreams. Maybe not to the fullest extent, but it's so important to have some kind of a tribe that talks you out of these habits, and be okay with having uncomfortable conversations in that person, whether it be a family member, whether it be a friend. Be okay with people calling you out, and be okay with opening up to people about areas that you're lacking, because no one is a finished product and somebody always needs help. It doesn't matter who that person is, as long as you trust them, as long as your heart feels safe with them, get some form of support system. But always remember that a support system goes both ways.